What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 5 of our review of The Wheel of Time Season 1. I'm Chip.
I'm Brittany.
And if this is your first time here, I encourage you to go back and watch our other videos, the reviews of episodes 1 through 4. Also want to let you know that this is not our initial review. We have seen these season a couple times, and we're going back and rewatching and giving you our thoughts after seeing it a few times. Also, I've read the books multiple times. Brittany has not.
I'm a non-book reader.
So we'll give you our thoughts from those two different perspectives. All right, and we're going to kick this episode off as we've kicked all the other episodes off, talking about the cold open in which we see the funeral scene kind of wrapping up what we saw in the episode before. What'd you think of this?
So they're burying the fallen from this battle that was in the last episode, and it's visually beautiful and sad. Obviously, you're seeing this warder who lost his Aes Sedai going through it, having a rough time. It was nice. It was an okay cold open. Probably my least favorite of all the cold opens, but I see where it was necessary, and it was visually beautiful.
Yeah, I agree with all those points. I think it didn't come out the gate like, oh my God, this is amazing, but it did tie up what we saw from the episode before. And it was a good segue into the episode, which did a time jump of 1 month ahead.
Right.
So now they're all getting to Tar Valon, which they pronounce it Tar Valon. I'm not doing that. I hate that. I'm gonna say it the way it should be said, Tar Valon. And you book readers out there can back me up on that one. I think I like the time jump. They end with the funeral. Now we're here now. We don't have to see any more traveling. I think that was a good thing. And a good introduction to the kind of storylines that we're getting. So again, we have 3 groups, and we're going to go through them kind of group by group as we have in the other episodes. And the first group that we're going to talk about is, again, the shortest on screen time, I think, but pretty good and pretty significant character development there for Rand and Matt as they arrive in Tar Valon. What do you think of this?
Matt is definitely looking rough. He's like lashing out at small children, which is like very against his character so far. And he's very paranoid. They come up on Tar Valon. I'm going to say it as a non-book reader because that's what I'm getting from the show. It's visually really pretty. It's a big city. It does look like, my idea when they get to Tar Valon is that everyone seems well off. Like everyone's like dressed really nicely. There's like food. It's not like the other towns or cities that we've seen. This is a big major city. And there's a big mountain, and Rand says, I feel like I've seen this before. And so that's a little thing. Also, we meet the Ogier Loyal, and he is great. I've heard like other people say that they didn't really like how he looked. I thought he was fine. I mean, that could probably be worked on a little bit later, but I thought as far as his character, I loved him. He really brought up a lot of things, and he called Rand an Aiel man.
I generally agree with everything you just said there. Them walking into Tar Valon was spot on for me. It's supposed to be like a bustling city, and I love that you could tell that you said you could tell the distinction between towns that they've been in and now we're in a city. And that's exactly how it should be, right? Like when they get to Tar Valon, it's like, oh, okay. So this is what a city is. And I think that was great. Matt, again, playing it perfectly. The actor is amazing, and I'm sad that he's not there anymore. And I do love the touch where he says, I think I've seen that before, the mountain. And it's like such good foreshadowing. But yeah, to get back to Loyal, I do agree that he's not what I pictured, but I understand why they make him look the way they did. It's probably the best practical way to do it. I'm glad it's not some CGI thing. A lot of people were upset because he's supposed to be much taller. I mean, he's not really that much taller, but I'm okay with that. The only nitpick I have is, Ogier is supposed to have really long eyebrows, and I kind of always wanted to see that. But maybe, since he's young, he doesn't have them. Maybe if we meet other Ogier, they'll have them. I don't know. But that's just kind of the nitpick. But I do, and I remember the first time we watched it, when he mentions that Rand is an Aielman, I lost it. I was freaking out. I was like, this is so awesome. Oh my God. I love this. Because I really do. I think that is such a nice little touch, a nice little Easter egg for those of us who know what that means and why that's significant. I loved it, and it really, to me, was one of the better scenes of this whole Rand saga so far. I just got really excited about that. So very glad they did that, and I enjoyed it a lot.
So then we have some sort of like kind of overlapping stories in this particular episode. The Aes Sedai are coming back, and they have the gentled Logain. And they're coming through the city, and Rand and Matt are watching this sort of like parade, I guess you could call it. And people are throwing things at Logain saying like, kill the dragon, kill the false dragon, things like that. Matt and Rand have a really nice moment because Matt is just like a hot mess. And Matt says, never let this happen to me. Like, let's make a pact that if this ever happens to either of us, we'll figure it out, and this can never happen to either of us. And they sort of make this pact, which I thought was a nice moment between those two characters, which they've had a lot of nice moments with each other. And Nynaeve is with the Aes Sedai group coming back with Logain, and Loyal finds her and brings her to Matt and Rand. And Matt lashes out to Nynaeve. He's obviously has some sort of evil. And Nynaeve and Rand decide that they are Two Rivers folk and that they are not going to get Aes Sedai involved.
There's a lot going on here that's different from the books. Again, I get it. It's okay. It's some good scenes there again. And that's what I mean, that we're getting some necessary character development between some of these people. I just wish that we had the three boys together getting that character development early rather than, here we are over halfway, and we're now just getting scenes that, really develop their relationships.
When I say like it's fleeting, it's like it's these moments that you want. Like when Nynaeve comes to see Matt, and Matt is laying on the bed and he is sweating and obviously just like going through this thing that he's going through. He looks up at Nynaeve and he's like, "Oh my gosh, Nynaeve, is that you?" And it was like this touching moment between those two, which is like that they also have this amazing bond, and he was so excited to see her, but he kind of like lashes out at her because he's going through this thing. But it was a wonderful little, just a tiny moment where you're just like, okay, these people do belong together. They do love each other. They are and have grown up together, and they love each other.
That would have come through if they had two more episodes.
More time, yeah.
That I just think they would have had more time to do that without having to rush it or make it, fleeting, as you said. The other group, or the second group we're going to talk about is, of course, Perrin and Egwane, still with the Tinkers. They're really right outside Tar Valon, and they get stopped by the White Cloaks. Of course, Eamon Valda, literally one of the best castings of the show, I think, recognizes Perrin and Egwane, tries to scoop them up. They run away and eventually get captured by the White Cloaks, and he begins his questioning, which for non-book readers, again, I mentioned this in an earlier episode when we talked about the White Cloaks, but the questioners are a specific sect within the Children of the Light, and they are particularly brutal. So the way that they're portraying this guy is spot on. It's perfect. It was well done. It made me a little uncomfortable watching,
Yeah. As they're washing Egwane, like just washing the, like, I guess, impurities off of her. I mean, you're kind of just like, ugh, like it's just like a lot to watch.
But it's not graphic, which I love.
It's not graphic, no, like which I like better than some of, some other shows.
Yeah. It wasn't over the top violence or anything like that, but it was uncomfortable, and I thought it was well done and in line with what you know of the Children of the Light, especially the questioners. But the torture scene or the questioning scene, I should say, he's trying to get her to admit that she's an Aes Sedai or kin channel, and she will not do it. And then Perrin starts to get cut and his eyes become gold. And again, as a book reader, I was freaking out. I thought this was amazing. I really hope that they do better to explain why all this is happening to the non-book readers later. Like, obviously, if you've read it, but I feel like right now it's just kind of like, what the hell's going on with Perrin? Now his eyes are gold. He understands that wolf as they're escaping isn't going to hurt him. What does this all mean? But what did you think of that? So
I have to say that I loved Egwane in this particular time. We're finally seeing Egwane without the Rand Egwane saga, their romance. This is a much better place for Egwene. We get to see that she is very, she's ready. Like, she is fearless and she's ready for a fight when it comes to her. And she loves her friends as well. One of the things I have to say is, because a lot of this is overlapping, is that when Nynaeve sees Rand and he's worried about Egwene, of course, she tells the story of how when Egwene was a child, she came to the wisdom, and the wisdom was going to give her tea to help her passing because Egwene had a bone-breaking disease. So her bones were breaking, and Nynaeve says that she never cried or lashed out, and she was able to break this fever and get over this bone-breaking disease. And it kind of connects with the story of how Egwene is a strong person. This isn't just a girl who doesn't mean to be here. Like, she is strong. She's meant to be here. She can channel. And, it's actually a really intense moment when Perrin tells Egwene finally that he did kill his wife. And she says, one day you're going to get over this. And that really helps her find her core. And she goes into the drift and is able to channel. And I love that she fakes out Child Valda. She kind of fakes him out with the little fire. And he's like, you can't do this, It's going to take more than that to kill me. And then at the same time, she's untying their bonds.
That's an interesting way to see it. Like, I saw it as, again, from the book reading perspective, I saw it as, okay, that's what I would expect from a girl who doesn't know how to channel or doesn't know how to do anything. She wouldn't be able to do a huge fireball or anything crazy. But she then refocuses to doing something that she can do, heat up the rope so that they break. That's the way I read it. I was like, yeah, because if she's coming out and intentionally did that with her small fireball to throw them off, that is way too much command of the power, I think, that she wouldn't have without training, right? She has not had any at all training, like no training. So if she was able to do that, then that would be next level stuff. Because even in the books, like, yeah, she's powerful in the books, but she needs to learn how to do this stuff first.
Right.
And then she becomes a beast. So, that's interesting that you saw it like that. I saw it from a different perspective, and that's why we're doing this little show here.
Yeah.
But then leading us to the last group, and the group that gets the most time, the Aes Sedai in the White Tower, dealing with the loss of Karene, getting, a lot of character development, a lot of world building from what, the inside of the White Tower. So initially when they show up, my first thought is the White Tower is not what I thought it would look like, but it is cool. I thought it would be more slender and taller, but that's probably not really practical in real life. So they probably designed it that way for a reason, but the inside is exactly what I thought it would have looked like. It's so awesome to me. And they stash Nynaeve away in the warder's quarters, which is somewhere we never get to see in the book, so that was cool to me. From beyond that, we get a lot of the internal politics starting. They're laying the groundwork for the internal politics of the White Tower, which, again, as a part of the series, is an integral thing down the line. Like, they're laying the groundwork for things that's going to pay off later here in this episode. And that's why, I think that this is one of the better, again, it's not one of the best episodes, but it's good in terms of laying some necessary groundwork, world building, so that later these things make sense that are going to happen. I think they did a really good job of showing that through just the discussions in the tower. What do you think?
I think so too. I mean, you can definitely see the politics, and there's one moment when Alana is talking to Moraine, and she's like, you have two very powerful people that are against you, and could you take over the Amarlin seat because you're the only one that can fight the Amarlin? And things like that. So there's definitely a lot of politics there. That was really interesting. And we hear about the Yellow Sisters being the healers, and we obviously know that the Greens are the battle. They go to battle and they're the warriors. We know that the Reds are into rules and gentling and things like that. So it is interesting world building for sure.
On top of that too, this has been 2 episodes now where they're really going deep into the warder bond. I think that this episode kind of hammers it home. Now, if they had 10 episodes, this could have been spread out over maybe 4 episodes, this idea of the warder bond, so it doesn't seem so heavy-handed. over 2. But again, they only gave him 8 episodes, so they had to do this somehow. And I think it's important to emphasize this relationship between the Warders and the Aes Sedai, because going forward, it's important that you as a viewer or a reader or whatever, you understand the importance of that decision that you make. Yeah, I'm going to actually be your warder. You got to understand what you're doing, what you're giving up, all that stuff. So I think that this was very important, and the way they show Steppen kind of quote unquote, dealing with the death of his Aes Sedai is spot on. He's depressed. He's in pain. He goes to Nynaeve and asks for the sleeping tea to help him sleep. And that comes back around later when Lan knows he's going through it. Lan is trying to protect him. He's like, hey, man, I'll just stay with you tonight. We can hang out and talk. And Steppen feeds him the sleeping tea and then goes and kills himself. Man, that was just tragic. Like, it's so well done.
Right.
In terms of something that never happens in the book. It's not anything from the books at all, but it felt like it belonged there. It felt like it was in line with everything they do, and I just was blown away. I thought it was really good.
I think the other story kind of going along with that in the warder bond is the Moraine and Lan situation, where Moraine knows that things that she's doing are possible death sentence for her. I mean, she is going to do things that potentially are going to bring her very into harm's way. And she is very scared. I don't want to say she's scared, but she is very concerned that Lan would be in this particular situation. So there's like 2 stories going on where they're trying to tell you about the warder bond, but they're also trying to show you that like Moraine is kind of trying to figure out if something happened to her, what would happen to Lan. She was worried about that.
Right.
And I think that's why she mentions Nynaeve a lot. I think she wants something for Lan to live for after her, if she were to die. And that's kind of, I think, a small like sub story going on here.
Yeah, and that's definitely true to the books. Like, you got to believe that if you spend this much time with this person and you know what's going to happen to them when you die, you're going to look for every opportunity to protect them from that. And that's definitely right on par with their characters from everything. So one of the other things I really like too is when there's the discussion between Lan and Steppen, and they lay a little bit of that groundwork for the Forsaken. He's praying, he has the little idols and he's praying, and they're talking about the Forsaken. Now they don't go into deep detail about them, but they drop just that little first hint, which I love. And hopefully, I'm really hoping that they do, actually explain it in detail later down the line. They don't do it in this season, but maybe next season.
I know. I'm surprised they didn't do one of those Amazon extras about the Forsaken, which would have been really great.
Really cool. So hopefully they do that. Hopefully we get some background there. But I would say overall, this is a great episode. And the way they ended it was really good. It starts with a funeral, and then they end it with the funeral. And one of the things I really love, again, small detail about world building, is that they all wear white in the funerals. Like, that's not something from the books. That's not, that's just something they made up, but it fits, you know what I mean? And it's really cool little detail, Steppen at the beginning. I haven't worn white since, my father's funeral. So like, that's obviously a thing. And I think it's a cool little touch. And then the way they have Lan be like the designated mourner guy, man, it was touching. It was crazy. You never see Lan show emotion in the books. In this, it felt right. And, he killed it. And it just ends with him screaming and Moraine's crying, and thought it was deep.
I liked that in the beginning when you have the Aes Sedai kind of running that funeral service, the song is very loud. And in the warder's funeral, it's just like a beat of, your heart kind of beat almost like on your chest. Sticks with like the warder kind of lifestyle, right? It's, not many words. And then you have Lan kind of yelling and screaming, and it is really powerful. I thought it was a really good way to approach that scene for sure.
Yeah, I thought it was good. It was just a really cool, like I said, world building. This was a world building episode, and I think they did a really good job laying the groundwork for future payoffs. Hopefully, and again, like the more I watch it, the more we've seen these episodes, the more trust I have in the fact that they know what they're doing and they know how they're setting things up. And I feel like, honestly, they wish they had more episodes in season 1. Like, I guarantee if you talk to the people who did the show, they would say, yeah, we would love it. We would love to add 10, but Amazon said 8. So I'm hoping that they, Amazon gets it right coming forward, and maybe we get 12 next season. That'd be tight. But
Oh, yeah, give us the extra 2 that you left off. That would be amazing.
Who knows? Overall, I would say this is a pretty good episode. Again, I liked it. It wasn't action-packed, didn't have a lot going on. I would rate it probably around a 7.3, like the first episode. 7.3, nothing too crazy.
I would say like a 7 for me. Yeah.
So not blowing our socks off, but a much needed, story-driven episode that, is going to pay off down the line. That's all for us for now. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy the content that we are providing, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our review of episode 6. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
See you later.